Stop! Sure you want the rest of it?
Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast.
Every penny's worth.
Welcome back to Dirty Harry Minute, the only podcast in the world to review every minute of the 1971 masterpiece starring Andy Robinson and some big nobody called Clint Eastwood. I'm one of your hosts, John, and as ever I'm joined with...
Trent.
And...
Tim.
And today we are fortunate to be guest with not two but three guests. Our first guest is Mitch Grinter.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. How was your trip here from Geelong?
Well, when you're leaving Geelong, pretty much even anywhere, even Reservoir is a better destination. And you guys have lovely trees that don't appear to have been sort of cut down for warmth, which happens a lot in some of the outer suburbs of Geelong. I haven't been jacked yet. I don't know if you guys call it that here. I don't even know if you have a word for it here because it just seems like a sort of lovely suburb where nothing had really happened. And there's a place around the corner called Pie Time.
Oh, wow.
Which I got excited by because it implied, like, it didn't have a clock on the sign, so presumably it is always pie time. And isn't that a world that we want to live in?
Have you been there, Trent?
No, I was just thinking more because there are a lot of parks and trees around here that the term jacked. Anyway, sorry. But, yeah. It only took 2 minutes to go down the toilet. But anyway, yes.
Well,
no, I've not been there.
Thanks for coming, Mitch. And we're also joined by two lovely ladies, Georgia and Fiona. Hello.
Hello. Hello. My name's actually Liz.
Yes. Ah, Liz.
I could have let it just go, and that would have been great as well. I meant Fiona for the afternoon. Yes.
Thanks for coming, Georgia. Are you a big Eastwood fan?
I wouldn't say a fan. I'm a little bit ambivalent about him as an actor. I probably prefer him as a director, I would say.
He's got a lot of good directed movies under his belt.
Do you prefer him directing himself versus acting for another director? So say Gran Torino or $1 Million Baby, where he brought out some really, really good performances versus, I don't know, Alcatraz or something along those lines.
Well, I think my favourite film that he's directed actually doesn't have him in it at all, which is Changeling.
Okay.
So, to be honest, I probably don't mind watching him on screen either way, whether he's directing himself or not. I'm sort of like a little bit ambivalent about him. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So, yeah.
I think he turned in some of his best performances to date in $1 Million Baby and even Torino as well. Mm-hmm. Tears, Jim.
Unforgiven.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yes.
Let's just put it out there right now that it will never be better than Unforgiven. That's right. Eastwood. Now,
he doesn't cry in that movie though. He actually cried quite convincingly in $1 Million Baby, I think. Tim, don't you?
Can't remember.
At the end.
Yes, at the end.
Oh, yeah, over the bed. Yep. Liz Fee, you were about to say some really disparaging things about Clint Eastwood before, were you not?
Yeah, I feel like he sort of became Hollywood royalty, and I'm not sure that there's much reason for it.
How did you get in this room?
I don't know. It feels really small right now.
I like a dissenting opinion, and it's not my show, so I'm going to poke that bear wherever I possibly can and just see if we can get a fight over the end of the table here.
Well, today we are reviewing minute 38. The minute begins with a woman turning around and running off screen and ends with Harry aiming his elephant gun. Tim, what did you think about this minute?
It's great. You've got naked hippies and a Dirty Harry one-liner. What more do you want?
Mitch, do you think the nudity in Dirty Harry is a bit too gratuitous, a bit too Starship Troopers nudity?
I didn't until you described Harry pointing or aiming his elephant gun. That took it to a new place for me. It's kind of that nudity at a distance. I think in a 70s film, you know, you've certainly seen a lot worse, but my two thoughts. One, it's as gratuitous as it gets. And what are the odds that you're just going to be happen to be on the one rooftop where you can see through the window and see naked people. And the other part of it, for the hero cop, he's doing a shit job of being a cop in this particular minute. You know, you've got one job, it's to catch the Scorpio killer, and you just get sidetracked to, you know, look at something that you could see in any magazine for 20 cents at the time.
It's almost like they had this scene to actually point out he's a bit of a voyeur, because he did the same thing in the other scene with Hot Mary, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But he's also a widower, so he's a little bit sympathetic in that way as well.
We don't know that quite yet, but yeah.
Pardon me.
Some people have said that during the movie, obviously, Harry's quite obsessed with his gun, so we don't see him with any other ladies, so maybe it was intimating, hang on, guys, he's not queer or anything. He does have an interest. He's a red-hot American.
We couldn't have that. Not in 1976.
No. And there's not too many substantive women characters in this movie, is there, George?
That's very true. Yeah. That's very true.
Of substance, anyway.
Yeah. I think she's got the whole 70s natural vibe going on, which is very cute. But it is interesting, like in a post Me Too world and everything that happened last year, and particularly, you know, that came out in Hollywood, like, is this going to be as acceptable to kind of just chuck scenes like this in the mix, just basically for a bit of fun? Like, it's not really, it's a bit of a laugh. And I think it's interesting whether that's going to be taken a little bit more seriously now.
71, Trent, was quite a year for, wasn't it, Straw Dogs and A Clockwork Orange, some very, a lot of nudity and provocative scenes of rape and so forth.
Well, that's right, because the Hays Code in the US changed, I think it was 1968, 69, and we've covered this a little bit before, but that's why it was sort of like, oh wow, we can throw these things in that we haven't before. You know, and people go, oh shit, you see.
It's probably a bit of a, you know, they were probably just excited to be able to do that because that code was quite strict, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, you know, there's an argument that, people were liberated, you know, all these things that were oppressed before. And, you know, you get the impression a lot of young actresses were bluffed into doing things they wouldn't normally agree with because, it's all about the liberation and the freedom and all that.
I think you're thinking particularly about the Australian scene, aren't you?
No, just
Jackie
in
Weaver
general.
and...
Yeah.
Just like the 70s equivalent of CGI.
Yeah.
Just because you can do it doesn't mean it's good. It's like...
Does Chico see? Do you think Chico knows that Harry's perving? You can't really... Do you think, Trent?
Maybe a little bit.
Is he looking off to the side?
It doesn't. It does certainly look like that building is close enough, particularly when they're in the shootout. It looks like it should be close enough that you could see that with the, pardon the pun, naked eye. So, and he's but that look on his face there. Sorry, we're just, as we're rewatching, he's kind of got a little bit of confusion about what do you mean you're yourself to live with, Harry.
Yeah, he's got a slight, are you fucking serious kind of expression on his face. Yeah.
Now, Georgia, the people that enter the apartment, the swingers, do you think the people we've seen in the previous minute in the alleyway? They seem, the gentleman,
Yes.
the Mark Maron, John Lennon looking guy has the sort of similar coloured poncho.
Yeah, Lizzie, you were saying that was a very distinct jumper poncho he's wearing there. So, yeah, I think it's the same.
Sorry,
Same
Lizzie,
couple.
didn't you mean Fiona?
Right.
Oh, somebody told
Liz
me.
feet, yeah.
You bring along your sister and this is what you get.
Exactly.
They seem... The naked hippie seems particularly rushed to get the other hippies into the bedroom, if you see that. Like, there's a real sense of urgency, like, if this doesn't happen in the next 15 seconds... I don't know, like someone's going to kick the door down or something like that. Like, if you just hit play on this little moment and she's got one hand, she's pushing them through, and then, like, the guy almost looks like he's...
Am I going to get a drink? Offer me a drink?
Yeah, it's like, well, hang on, I didn't come here for this.
I want to go back. Let me out.
Are you going to get a drink or a neck rub or anything?
Dive right in.
Big fan of this minute, Trent?
I'm thinking back on you saying the Mark Maron, John Lennon guy. Yeah. He looks like none of them. They don't even look like each other either. I'm looking for comparable photos.
Just maybe some wavy
I got
hair.
nothing. It's like glasses. That's it. Sorry, what was the question? It was about the minute.
You're a big fan of this minute?
I like the build-up of the music. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty seedy sort of scene, the red and the blue light and everything, and offers a little insight into the character of, with his one-liner there, which is great.
Yep. Are you put off, George, that this movie doesn't really... This is almost all we see of women in this movie, apart from the squeaky clean conversation he has with Chico's wife in the hospital. They remade this movie today. They'd put in some female characters, do you think?
Yeah, probably. I think that's a massive thing at the moment, is redoing a lot of things with female leads or even just being conscious and putting more females in bigger roles. But I think...
Dirty Harriet.
There you go.
Starring Kristen Wiig.
Yes.
I'd watch that.
Melissa McCarthy. It's when you watch something like this, you almost expect it to be very male driven. It's not a massive surprise. I think you just a little bit, sometimes a little bit numb to it. Yeah.
Would it change the tone of the film though if any of the main characters were female?
Of course, we have the Enforcer where he's paired up with a female cop, and they develop a platonic relationship of respect that doesn't amount to anything romantic. That's another dynamic that emerges.
In that film, is it suggested he's misogynistic in some way?
Oh, big time. At the beginning, yeah. And then you see it sort of whittled down
Yeah,
as he
right.
gets to know her, and she's just as capable as me.
And she becomes Dirty Harriet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Women are human too. I guess not in the scenes that we're looking at so much, but there's certainly, if it was remade now, would be female cops within the police station. Like, it's very... That's where it's really, really obvious. You're like, it's just a room full of men talking about being men.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That wouldn't happen. So you wouldn't necessarily have to change the entire tone, I don't think, but it would just make it feel more natural and less on the nose about how few females there are if they were... you got a movie called Dirty Harry. Obviously, it's going to have a male lead. Maybe even including some more scenes with the actual victims to humanize them rather than just have it's a girl, she's been kidnapped, and here's a
That's
tooth.
very, very
like,
true.
The tooth gets more screen time than the victim.
Yeah, we know nothing about them, practically nothing about them other than that they're victims. Yeah.
As opposed to, say, Silence of the Lambs, where as much as the size 14 that gets kidnapped, and it's probably damning that's all I can think of to be able to describe her as well. But you do get some scenes with her down that well, and you start to understand the pain that she's going through, and you really sort of sympathise, as opposed to it just being a MacGuffin that Harry needs to try to solve.
That said, Harry's relationship with women maybe it deteriorates in The Enforcer, where he's a bit misogynist and disbelieving that women can be a role. But in this movie, he's thrown off by the women he encounters. Like, he doesn't know what to say with Charlie Russell's mum. Chico, he says, you go talk to her and allay her fears. And obviously Hot Mary puts him off again.
Is that kind of like how you don't know how to talk to a Labrador when it's looking at you? Yeah. You're like, I know you can understand some words. But, pat, well done.
So he's more clueless.
I don't believe that. Sorry. I just want to throw it out there
Just to be clear.
I am sitting closest to the girls in the room here on the mic. So
The girl end of the
I
table.
don't want to be hit in the back of the head with a mic stand. That was purely comic effect.
So yeah, once again, the nudity throws Harry off here. But does it really prevent him from... In the end, he aims the gun and is ready and catches Scorpio by surprise. So his voyeurism isn't totally throw off his professional attitude
True.
here, yeah.
Oh, he snaps back and he's right there back into it. Yeah.
I'm glad that they put the binoculars template over this. Otherwise, I would have thought that Harry had supervision. Wouldn't have been able to piece together that when he held the binoculars up to his face that he had a closer up view.
Because I know whenever I put binoculars on, I can see the black ring
Yeah.
around everything as well. It's not just vision.
Does anyone own binoculars here? Have you ever had cause to buy them, Mitch or Trent?
I have binoculars. My wife has not great vision, so when we go to football, cricket, that sort of stuff, we'll take the binoculars to help her be able to see from the grandstands. And you do feel like a spy whenever you put them on. Like if I hold them up, like I only I crowd watch with binoculars. I never look at the sport. I'm just like, let's see what the guy over in, Bay 36 is up to.
When you go to the shop to buy the binoculars, do you think the shopkeeper's really thinking, I know what's going on here? Or do you feel dirty?
You go to you sell them, or they sell them at boating, camping, fishing stores. So everyone in there, I think, is a little bit dirty. So you kind of blend
Wow.
What are the names of the pervs in Rusty and in The Simpsons? Rusty and something.
Boating and things like that. That's what I've got them for.
The sport.
Actually, I stole them off my dad, but yeah.
We've talked before, pulling at straws here, that Scorpio has the sniper scope. He's concentrating. Harry's got the binoculars, the good and the evil, whereas Scorpio just has the capacity for the evil in life. Did you like that poorly expressed metaphor, Tim?
Is that another thing you've just made up on the spot?
Yeah, when's the IMDb thing coming up that you make up every week?
Well, there's some inaccuracies with the Winchester rifle that he uses. We'll talk about next minute. But Tim, you generally enjoyed this minute?
Yeah, say so. I mean, it's probably a bit more of a comic relief, scene or bit before it gets to the action. So, I mean, maybe that was their intention. Put in a one-liner, get the crowd going, and then you bring out the guns.
It's probably a little bit of trying to sell San Francisco as well. Like you, through three people, basically portray the way that San Francisco has always been a bit more of a progressive culture, I suppose.
That you can be spied on at any time.
Well, there's that.
And the song tells the truth, because I think they're wearing flowers in their hair as well. If you're going to San Francisco, yeah, living the dream. This is pre the Village People's Go West, which was about going to San Francisco from New York. It's a different San Francisco.
Do we hear the door open, Tim, on the soundtrack?
There's a
We
creak.
do, yeah. And it's kind of like, could we really hear the door from across the street?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
But it seems like Harry does, because the binoculars move very quickly.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Look at the roof slightly above the door.
Yeah.
It looks like, unless the Scorpio was 10 feet tall, you're probably not going to see him, where he's decided to aim maybe at the ground where he'd be walking out, not at the very top. But look, I'm not a hero cop, so it's not for me to
Not with that attitude.
tell Harry his business.
And his binoculars might not be as good as yours either.
Yeah, that's very true. Mine show a full screen.
Well, that's pretty much all I have for this minute. Just for the record, I was going to say I finally watched the Madigan, the Don Siegel movie he did preceding to this. And the opening scene also has the two cops distracted by they're in a room though, arresting a hood, and his little female offsider's naked, and they get distracted, and the cops grab the gun. So Don Siegel's had another movie with this sort of plot point as well. Yeah,
I think sometimes when they're onto a good thing, they thought, stick with it,
Did Don Siegel direct Stripes by any chance? Because that also has a really extended binoculars in a shower sequence. Anyway, Porky's is probably the best example of gratuitous nudity, because the pervs, deal with some pain. It's probably one of the first glory hole movies I ever watched, actually, now that I think about that.
You should be chopping us down to size, George.
Just like glory hole's been thrown on the table. Wow, yeah.
Hot bubble gum?
What's that?
The Israeli film, Hot Bubble Gum? What's it
Oh,
called?
Lemon Popsicle.
Lemon Popsicle,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a glory hole scene in that, isn't there?
Oy.
I think.
We'll catch you next time on
that note.
Dirty Harry Minute.
Wasn't aware that was the thing that happened.